Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, my name is Caleb Deloach, and we are really in the thick of things in basketball. We're getting near the end of the season in basketball, boys and girls, wrestling, swimming, and so, we're thawing out a little bit around this area too. We're getting some games back on. We lost a few early this past week and kind of at the end of the week before that. So it's good to see people back in the gym. I got to call the game this past Friday at Jackson. They took on Ladue, so it was really cool to see a pretty good atmosphere. A lot of people came out. A lot of people probably that were tired of being stuck in their homes most of the time. So nice crowds showing up, which is always good, and especially, like I said, this time of year, getting into the back part of a lot of schedules, and so you're running out of time to see some good local athletes perform. But luckily, we got to see a pretty good group of games and things like that take place this past week. So we'll be able to jump kind of right into that. And I'll start with some boys basketball. I did mention, there wasn't a lot of boys basketball. I don't believe, for example, Cape Central did not play. They were supposed to play early in the week, Tuesday, that got canceled. They're supposed to play on the road Friday at Bluff. That got canceled for some reason. I don't know. Safety. So no Cape Central this past week. They had a rather extended break since they played Jackson at their place now a couple weeks ago. So we had a few, interesting contests. Notre Dame went to Springfield, played 3 games at the Nixa Invitational, which that's where Nixa is. I think it's just south of Springfield. So they went over there. Really, really tough competition. Really good tournament. I believe Logan Rogersville ended up winning it in a rout. They killed Marquette in the championship game. So a lot of good teams there. Those two, Marquette, Staley, Nixa, who was very, very good themselves. Obviously, Notre Dame was there. Whitfield was there. Really, really good competition. Unfortunately for Notre Dame, they ended up not winning a ball game. But, like I said, it doesn't change my opinion of this team. Really doesn't change my expectations of this team. The fact that they went over there and went 0-3, quickly here, they lost to Nixa 67-39. They lost to Staley 68-35, and they lost to Whitfield 70-66, which obviously I'm sure it was disappointing. I'm sure it kind of sucked, driving 4 hours, getting blown out a couple of games. But like I said, this team, by expectation, hasn't really changed. This is a team that isn't at the moment built to beat, state-ranked Class 6 teams. That's not the expectation. That's not the point where they're trying to be at right now. Obviously, they would love to be there. But if that was the case, they would be a state title contender, which they're not there yet. And that's all right. I mean, this is a team that is dominated mostly by underclassmen. There's definitely seniors there that have pride and they want to, pick up wins here against some of these big time opponents. But, there's a level of, hey, this is just not where we're at right now. These teams are at that level we want to get to, which that's just part of the process. So Notre Dame, they go there, they get spanked. But like I said, Nixa, I think, I want to say 5 or 6, something like that in Class 6. Staley, I think, was number 7 in Class 6. Whitfield game was a little bit rough. It was a game I thought that they could get. I mean, Whitfield's a good team. Quickly pulling up their schedule. Whitfield, they're around 500, but that's not really indicative of how good they are. Looking at their schedule, just the teams they've lost to. I mean, Lutheran St. Charles, fine team. Westminster's very good. Holt is good. Live for Life is traditionally a good team. Eureka's very good. I have a watch on, it's banging around. Oakville, good team. They came down here and beat Hayti. They lost to John Burroughs. They lost in this tournament as well to Logan Rogersville, Hillcrest. So, I mean, Whitfield's a good team. They're a Class 3 school, public school, and they're traditionally a pretty solid squad. And so, I mean, that is disappointing. Dropping that one is definitely a winnable win for Notre Dame, in my opinion. But a great fight by Notre Dame. They got down big early. I want to say it was double digits, 15, 18, 20, something like that. So, I mean, I commend them on the fight those kids had to come back. They did a great job. They got stops. They hit shots. Big games by a lot of guys you expect. Braden Robert played well over here. Cole Adams made plays. A lot of guys made plays. I mean, Devin Danamuller, Trenton Powell, obviously Colton Londaway hit some big shots. A lot of guys played really well. Rubel played well. You know, these guys they have a lot of guys, and they don't have a lot of ego, it feels like. So they do a good job of, there's no, hey, my turn, your turn type thing. It's just whoever's having a good game, and they take advantage of it. But, yeah, you know, a couple of lopsided results, but overall, I'm not any more discouraged than I was going into it. You know, I knew going into it that it's going to be an uphill battle. I mean, the Nixa Invitational over there is usually loaded. It's got, and this year's no exception, they have several state-ranked teams. Logan Rogersville, who won, is, I mean, in Class 4, it's them and Vashon, and Logan Rogersville overall is one of the very, very best teams in the state. They have a kid going to Indiana. They have a couple of kids inside that are freaks. So, I mean, this is a very good tournament. And, yeah, just looking ahead, you know, Notre Dame has a manageable schedule down the stretch here outside of the tournament. We'll get into some of the games this week, but, I mean, later on they're at Dexter, which will kind of determine the seeding in their district. They're at Borgia, who's going to be tough. You know, Bernie at home, Bluff at home, at Hillsboro, the game they're playing this week. You know, winnable games for sure, and some games that they're going to be tested in and kind of be able to show kind of where they're at. But, you know, I like this team a lot. They have kids that are talented. Obviously, you know, going in, leaning on underclassmen, anything can happen at times. But, you know, I like this group. I like, you know, I've said it a few times. I think Cole Adams is one of the very best players in the SEMO Conference. Braden Robert can be very, very good. He's a kid who can put up 20. Dylan Rubel I like quite a bit. I'm excited to see where he can be even next year, kind of rounding out everything in his game. He can be a really, really special player. And then the upperclassmen guys, you know, Jones and Danamuller do a great job inside, and Colton Londaway does a great job handling the point, playing tough D. I like this team. I think they can win some ball games as the season progresses. And then the only other games we had this past week, boys basketball wise, you had Jackson. They hosted Ladue. Like I mentioned, I did play-by-play for that game. If you ever want to listen in, I'm on the radio, 104.7 The Bridge, doing all the Jackson games. So a really nice win, 64-43, 21-point win over a Ladue team that, you know, it's a good program. Obviously, this is probably one of the weaker Ladue teams that we've seen the last few years that Jackson's played. This is the third year in a row Jackson's played them, but Jackson's beaten them now 3 years in a row. You know, Ladue sits at 8-9 right now, but Jackson beat them when they were 26-2. Jackson beat them when they were 18-10. So Jackson is doing a great job against this Ladue team that a lot of people think pretty highly of consistently. Obviously, like I said, this year they're a little bit down, but, you know, saying they're down, once again, similar to Whitfield, kind of discounts their schedule. You look at the guys that have beaten them. I mean, St. Dominic's very good. MICDS, very good. CBC is CBC. Edwardsville is very good. Just Westminster is very good. U City is always very good. So, I mean, they're a team that's lost some games, but they've lost games to legit teams that are going to make playoff runs. So, Jackson just did a great job, man. They just do what they do. They play defense. They, you know, attack the other team's best player. You know, hey, you're a 5'11" guard. Well, get ready to learn Blaine Reagan, buddy. All right. Blaine Reagan, one of the very, very best perimeter defenders in the area. I mean, maybe one of the best in the eastern half of Missouri. I mean, the kid's one of the best athletes in the state at everything he does. So the fact that Jackson can throw him on the other team's, you know, their point guard is their best player, boom, you get Blaine Reagan. You've got another guy on the wing that's good, boom, you get Jory Toma, another 6-foot, strong, freak athlete kid who's also, you know, a very good natural basketball player. Boom, you get those two kids. Oh, on the back end, they got a 6'8" kid, John Ernst, that can swat anything inside. You've got Will Thomas, Ty Forrest, really, really good athletes. You bring Oliver Drum off the bench. You bring Ryan Criddle off the bench. You bring Britt Crowden, great length off the bench. You got all these dudes. Jackson's got dudes everywhere that, Brock Reagan. You got another freakishly fast, athletic, lateral speed kid that you can throw on the other team's best player. And, they gave him fits. That was kind of what happened here. The Indians scored pretty evenly at the top. It was a three-headed monster this game. Ty Forrest got super hot. He made 6 threes, so shout out to Ty. He had 20, I think. Jory had 18, and Will Thomas had 15. So just a little bit of everybody getting involved. They frustrated John Ernst, which that was their goal coming in. They want to take him away. That's fine. You double team him, then you get to kick out to Ty Forrest, and Ty Forrest makes 6 threes. Or you kick out, you find a cutting Will Thomas, who's one of the best off-ball cutters I've seen Jackson have. You've got Jory Toma, great off-ball cutter who can go finish at the rim against anybody. Blaine Reagan can finish at the rim against anybody. So, you want to take away John, go for it. They can cut off of him. He can kick out the shooters. He's a really high IQ player. So, and only a sophomore, only getting better. So he had a good game, controlling what he could control, making good passes, played great defense too, played great help side defense. He had a ton of blocks in the game. I don't keep a track of blocks. He had a ton of blocks in that game. Moving off, Jackson, the final game that happened this week, tough game. I watched it online after my game ended. Saxony falls to Doniphan 56-53. It stinks. It just kind of continues a tough trend of Saxony being right there, man. It's been tough. They've had a lot of games this year where they lose by 1 or 2, a couple possessions here and there. And, this is kind of a similar deal. Doniphan's a good team. Doniphan got up on them. Saxony was able to come back, take a lead late, but then Doniphan pulled away. 1 by 3. It's tough. It was a tough break. Saxony played well. They hit shots. They put up 56, which is one of their better outputs on the season. So, it's a tough break. This is a good Doniphan team, too. I was pretty impressed at the way that Saxony played. Because going into it, I like Doniphan quite a bit. They are a team that lost a lot of games early, and they've really put some things together here late. They've been a great, playing above their weight class a lot of time team. So, it was a tough loss. It was a game that they could have won. It was right there. They had some shots that just didn't fall late. And so another close loss, unfortunately, for the Crusaders. They've got a busy week next week. And their schedule's just tough, man. Doniphan was a good team. They've lost to Delta recently. Very good team. Some of the, they got a lot of teams on here in the back end that are very tough. And something I think I said in the preseason maybe, that I think this Saxony team is going to be a lot better, and I think they are a lot better. But the record might not reflect it, just because the schedule is really, really tough. And so they're losing games against good teams, whereas, I think this Saxony team would beat last year's by double digits. But unfortunately, just the schedule they're playing is not doing them any favors. So they're a good squad. I hope to see them pick up a couple W's here down the stretch, see if they can close out a couple games and pull off some victories. So flipping over to girls basketball. Well, one special shout out, obviously, once again, I'll always admit when I'm biased, where I'm biased, things like that. And I'm as big of a Jackson girls basketball homer as there is. They're my favorite team to watch. I love the boys team. Obviously, I call all their games. They're 17-1. It's the best start that I can find in Jackson basketball history. But man, this girls team they're just good. They just play so hard. They're fun. They get up and down. Shout out to the boys. Boys get up and down. Boys play really, really fun basketball. But no, this girls team they're one of the best in the state of Missouri, and I just don't know if they get respected enough. That's kind of one of my biggest complaints. They did it again, man. They went on the road. They went up to the Lindbergh tournament. Unfortunately, the Lindbergh tournament I refer to it as an abbreviated tournament, where they were, they didn't get every game in that they thought they would. It's an 8-team tournament, and instead of, they canceled the first day due to the snow. So instead of packing in more games or playing more and moving it back for whatever reason, I don't know what they had scheduling wise going on. They just split it up. The First 4 seeds played a 4-team tournament. The bottom 4 seeds played each other. And Jackson was the 4 seed. Absolutely bananas, I thought, going into it, that there was a 4 seed. It was really disrespectful, in my opinion. It was, maybe a like, oh, we don't appreciate, like, your schedule's not tough enough, in our opinion, or something like that. Jackson played a good schedule. They just can't help that they're really, really good, and they're just killing everybody. So, whatever. They unfortunately got the 4 seed. But it just gave them more of a chance to prove people wrong, and that's exactly what they did. They went up there. The first round game, they played MICDS, the 1 seed. Now, MICDS was playing without their best player, who happens to be one of the best players in America, Jordan Haywood. She's a sophomore. She's 6'1", 6'2", point guard. I think she's the number 1 player in her class in the state, number 3 player in the country. And, she's a stud. She's going to make a big difference, obviously. She was not there. She was sick. She was healthy enough to play their next game. But she was sick, and so Jackson missed out on the opportunity to play against her. And without her there, it was brutalizing. Jackson won 73-32, just dominating from start to finish. If I remember, I was watching that game, the last episode I recorded, and they just crushed them. They played very, very well throughout. Won big, as you would expect. Like I said, in the game, MICDS outside of the Haywood girl, they don't have a lot that I really trust, that you would trust in to put up double digits very often. I don't think anybody else averaged double figures on the team. Looking at Jackson's stats, though, Kate Deck continued to be on a tear. She played really, really well. She's been playing really well. She had 1 game where she had a stinker, and then ever since then she's just been shooting like 75%, hitting everything from outside. She plays great defense regardless if his shots are going in or not. But against MICDS, she had 25. She went 5 of 8 from 3, 9 of 12 total from the field. She had 4 steals in the game by herself. Adeline Abernathy also had 4 steals. She's become a real force. She had 11 and 6. And then another, obviously a person I talk about a lot, person I'm super high on, is Lauren Dory. She had 19. She went 7 of 9, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. It's a great showing by her. She had 3 steals, 5 rebounds. So shout out to Landon Watkins for all the numbers as well. And Jackson only had 10 turnovers of their own. They turned them over 23 times. Bada bing, bada boom. What was it? It was 48-11 at halftime. Good night. Open and shut. But it was not as easy, the championship game. So they took on Francis Howell, who I knew whoever they played in the championship was going to be super tough. It was Marquette and Francis Howell. Both those teams are 2 very, very good, very, very good teams this year. I think Marquette is state ranked and Francis Howell's just outside of Class 6 rankings. But they've got a good team. They have a really complete team. They have a guard who plays on the same AAU team as Kate, the Missouri Phenom, at the very highest level in the country. So they have her, who's a stud. They have a big girl inside who's committed to play college basketball. Good size, really good athlete, good body control inside. Averages a double-double. So I knew Jackson was going to have their hands full. Francis Howell, we played him last year up there in this tournament, in the championship game, and it was really, really close, really competitive. I don't think it went to overtime, but it was really close. And Jackson won last year, and they repeated this year. They won 56-53. It was not easy. All game, it was never easy. Jackson was never comfortable. Early on, they got down by about 9, I believe. I think it was 14-5 in the first quarter. Jackson was giving up a lot of open shots from the perimeter. Francis Howell can really shoot it. And, they jumped on them early. They could handle the basketball. That's kind of the biggest X factor. Look, this Jackson team is going to pressure people full court. If you cannot handle the basketball, if you don't have 3-4 girls that can handle and pass, be comfortable when you're being pressured, you're going to lose. You're going to lose by a lot. You're going to turn it over 50 times, and you're going to get killed. But give it to Francis Howell. On the ball game, only 15 turnovers, which is a lot. But, Jackson's averaging probably, 25 turnovers forced a game or more. Maybe closer to 30 turnovers forced a ball game. So A really, really good job by Francis Howell taking care of the ball, breaking the press, and then finding open shooters, and they were hitting shots early. But Jackson did a good job. They buckled down. It changed up kind of what they were doing defensively. They dropped back to full court press, went to just a half court trap, and that was hugely effective. They got a lot of steals in the half court, double teaming ball handlers up high, getting easy layups down on the other end. They came all the way back. They took a lead, I think, by 3 at halftime. And so I felt pretty good. They outscored them 19-10 in the second quarter. But Francis Howell didn't go away. Francis Howell evened it up by the end of the third quarter. I was concerned in some ways. I was like, yeah, this is, great momentum here. Maybe Jackson's going to go on a run. And Francis Howell came right out in the third quarter, punched Jackson right back. And then it was just a great fourth quarter, man. Back and forth. Jackson came out quick. I think Jackson took an 8-point lead to start the fourth quarter. I think they went on an 8-0 run to start the quarter. And Francis Howell answered. They got a couple of steals. They went to a pressure defense. They got a couple of steals, got some runouts, hit some perimeter shots. The one girl I mentioned that plays with Kate Deck, an AAU ball. I think her name is Veronica Simmons, super good guard. She had some shots. She had some really tough shots. And, brought them right back and went down to the wire. Jackson was able to get enough shots, hit enough free throws. Talk about, an almost problem was the free throw shooting for Jackson. They went 10 of 23 as a team in the ball game. So they hit enough free throws is what we'll say. So it didn't go easy, but once again, kind of the usual suspects in some way. Lauren Dory led them in scoring. She had 19 on 7 of 13 shooting. She had 11 rebounds. 6 of those rebounds were offensive rebounds. She was killing the big girl for Francis Howell early. She was just dominating the glass. She had a ton of second chance points. She played a really, really good game. She was a big reason that they came back and were, in it early. And then Kate Deck played really, really well once again. She had 17 points, a 5-steal game again. She's been phenomenal defensively. She was one of those who got a ton of steals and got a lot of easy fast break layups. So she's been playing really, really well on that end, regardless of what happens offensively. And offensively, she's been playing really, really well as of late also. And then Addison Henderson stepped up, had a 10-point ball game. Just did all the little things. She had a double-double. She had 11 rebounds as well, 7 offensive rebounds. She had some huge offensive rebounds late in the ball game to give Jackson some extra opportunities. And she's a player who I really love watching play. I just say my description is always she just does all the little things, right? She's guarding. She can guard 1 through 5. She is diving on the floor. She's hitting big shots when you need her to. She gets a ton of offensive rebounds. So. This is a team that I just love watching. They've got kids all over the floor who do multiple things, and they're a lot of fun. So I'm excited, and we'll talk more about what they got going on. Here this week, they have a big opportunity for a pretty big win. So we'll be yours truly might be making an appearance over at Jackson here early in the week. So looking at some upcoming games this week. We got a much fuller slate, right? We've got, we're back from the snow a little bit. Hopefully there's no more snow. I think. I don't know what the youth of America want. I don't know if y'all want to be out of school more. What you're feeling. Let's see here. What do we have? I do see we got one result here. This weekend, your Jackson Indians wrestling team, they were at the Kyle Thrasher Invitational, 49 teams up there, multiple state champs in every weight class. Jackson had 2 finalists, 1 champion, which is Bryson Wessel. They finished second as a team. So shout out to Jackson. What was that? I believe that was that Francis Howell. Yeah, Jackson wrestler, but Francis Howell. Francis Howell, by the way, just one of the meccas of wrestling in the area, in the state. Some big time wrestling going on up there in Jackson. They've been showing up, man. Showing up as always. I know Jackson hosted a JV tournament. They won the SEMO Conference JV tournament. 11 champs. Won first by over 200 points. So shout out to them. Wrestling well, as always, kind of what you expect, especially around when they're taking on teams around this area. Jackson is the cream of the crop. Outside of that, I didn't really see any other results. I'm sure some of these meets got canceled, things like that. I didn't see many results outside of that. So once again, if you have any results for anything else, always you can throw them in the DMs, hit me up, wherever. And yeah, like I said, we'll jump ahead to this week when you're watching this. We have some good games going on. Busy week for Saxony. I mentioned they played one game against Doniphan last week. They're making up a game against Kelly Monday. That will be at home. Saxony's taking on Kelly. What do I expect in this game? I don't know. Kelly is pretty good. Kelly is, like, for what, size and classification, kind of where they're at. They're good in their weight class. They're definitely going to be tough on Saxony. I've seen the good of what Kelly can do is pretty darn good. If they play their best basketball, say like they did against Charleston in the Christmas tournament, kind of how they played in the first 3 quarters of that game, they are capable of beating Saxony here pretty handily. But, there's a reason they're 5-13 on the season. They're not always super consistent, but they've played a tough schedule as well. You look at the teams they've lost to: Crothersville, Scott City, Twin Rivers, Charleston. I mentioned Woodland, Chaffee. These are some of the better teams. Delta, St. Vincent, some of the better teams in the area as far as small school goes. So they've definitely been challenged. I think I would give Kelly an advantage going into this game for sure. I mean, there's bigger school, things like that. Coach hiring, I believe, in the first year there. So we'll see how that goes. I think Saxony can definitely compete. I would be very impressed if they did win, but these are the games they should definitely compete in my opinion. Then Tuesday, boys basketball-wise, we got a really busy slate that day. You've got Jackson is on the road at Charleston, which, you can't come out and expect to win any ball game in the SEMO Conference. You've got to show up. You've got to play hard. And, Jackson definitely has that ability. They say defense travels, so we will find out, because Charleston is tough to play at their place. They're not having maybe a traditional year you expect out of Charleston, but they are a very, very tough team. They have individual athletes that I like a lot. Out on the perimeter, you've got Trayshawn Shandon, Trenez Lane, Ajari Wells. These guys are very, very good basketball players. But, right now Charleston's 7-8, and it's a similar situation. They've lost some games to good teams. Dexter, Notre Dame, 3 times they've lost to Notre Dame. They never want to see Notre Dame again. They lost to Delta as well. Obviously, Sykeston. They lost at New Madrid, which is kind of an eye-opening loss in my opinion. So it'll be interesting. The matchup, I think Jackson should win, but anything can happen in the SEMO Conference. So they need to show up. They need to be ready to play 4 full quarters, because Charleston won't go away, especially at home. Cape then they're hosting Hillsborough on Tuesday, which once again I think this is a winnable game for Cape. I obviously called the Jackson-Hillsborough game, which was rather lopsided. I think Jackson won by 30. Hillsborough is tough. They have some really fast guards. They have a couple kids that, I've seen Kobe Thomas, Marquel Murray play this year, and, these guys have about as quick of a first step as those two do. So they have some really, really quick guards. They can hit shots. They have a big kid inside. They have a couple of pretty good sized kids around the rim. So, Cape playing at home, definitely going to help out a little bit, I think. This is a game I would put in the winnable column for the Tigers. But they're going to have to play well. You're going to come out. You're going to have to defend. It's hard, I know, to bring the effort that they brought against Jackson just because of the emotional rivalry situation and the crowd they had there that night, stuff like that. But if they're able to come out with the same intensity, same physicality, take away the paint the way they did against Jackson, wall off drives, make things tough around the rim, it's definitely a game I think that Hillsborough can win. Then we'll move to the last one, Saxony. Saxony's playing St. Vincent, another game they're hosting. They're hosting 3 games this week. St. Vincent, though, is very tough. St. Vincent's 13-5 on the season. They play a decent schedule. This is a game that's already been played once. They beat Saxony 57-35 the first time they match up. So this will definitely be an uphill battle, in my opinion, for the Crusaders. St. Vincent, pretty tough squad this year. Class 2, District 4. They might be able to make a little bit of noise. But, yeah, they have a good team this year. They've been putting it on some people, especially teams that are maybe a step below them. They lost a few weeks ago. Single digits against Scott City at Scott City. Pretty nice result for them. So that will be a game that is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle if you are Saxony. And we'll jump straight to 3 games this week, like I mentioned, for Saxony. They'll be hosting Notre Dame. Once again, their schedule, man. Their schedule is very tough. I got to give it to Coach Scott, Coach Abernathy. Those guys over there, they did not shy away from competition, right? They're playing, they took on, I know, Poplar Bluff already in the SEMO Conference. Notre Dame, so just a couple, they're at Kennett too, SEMO Conference team. So, they're playing 3 SEMO Conference teams this year. They're playing all the best small schools, Chaffee, Jefferson, St. Vincent, Doniphan, I like, at Delta. They're playing Scott City. They're playing a just meat grinder of a schedule. And, it's going to result in some else. And I think that should be the case again. Obviously, talking from Notre Dame side, this is a game you got to just show up, right? You can't take for granted the fact that, like, hey, we're Notre Dame, they're Saxony, we're going to win. You got to show up, you got to play hard. But if Notre Dame is at 100% and they're playing hard, they're clicking, is a game they should win. As I believe they have now several matchups in a row. Let's see. These teams do play each other with, I think, yearly and all time. Yeah, this is a lopsided rivalry. So since 2009, which the Misha website has, it is 15-2, 17 games, but in the favor of Notre Dame. So this is a very lopsided rivalry. Over the last, there's been some times where it's been close games. Saxony won 2 in a row when they had a really good group there a few years back. In 22 and 23, they won back-to-back years over Notre Dame, but last few matchups have not gone as nicely, and most of them have not gone that way. So it's going to be an uphill battle. But overall, I like the Saxony team, but the schedule is brutal. So they got 3 games this week, all at home. So if you want to see Saxony, if you're like, hey, I haven't got to see this team, I haven't really got to check out what they're about, this is definitely a week to do so, as they are hosting a lot of games. And then also Friday, I'll be on the call for Jackson. They are taking on Lutheran St. Charles. It's a team Jackson played last season. Long road trip, by the way. That'll be an early tip-off at 6:30 p.m. As like I said, they got a heck of a drive, so they want to get back probably at a decent hour. So looks like JV is going to tip off at 5, varsity boys 6:30. So if you're planning to go to that game, get there early. I expect to see a few people walking in like the third quarter being like, what the heck? That happened this past week when Jackson played. They started at 7, and the game started a little bit earlier than that because the JV game went by pretty quick. And so there were people showing up at halftime like, wait, what? This game started at 7, not 7:30. So, like I said, they played last season up there in St. Charles. Jackson won 58-44. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the best player from last year's Lutheran St. Charles team transferred to Webster Groves. It is what it is. And so, you don't want to lose that kind of talent. So, I believe Lutheran St. Charles sitting just under 500. But once again, it's a situation where Jackson can't just show up and expect the name on the front of the jersey to lead them to a win. As Lutheran, not known for being a basketball school per se. They've had some success in football over the years, but this is a game where Jackson, like I said, they should be the favorite. And if they're able to take care of business, man, I mean, look, this Jackson team, 17-1 Also, Lutheran St. Charles looks like 9-7. So they've got a few wins here in tournaments that didn't register on the Misha website. So they're 9-7. Should be a good battle. But, we gotta respect what Jackson's got going on over there. Lutheran St. Charles has a couple of guys who can score. But yeah, we gotta appreciate the fact that Jackson is 17-1 right now after they beat Ladue. 17-1. I know, I don't know. I guess there's some discourse that, hey, how good are they? The schedule might not be great, blah, blah, blah. Well, the schedule's the schedule. I mean, you can only, you play who you got to play, right? You play who's on the schedule. In years past, the schedule might be tougher because maybe Cape isn't below 500 usually. New Madrid might not struggle as much. Charleston's usually better. That's just in the SEMO Conference. So, Ladue is like 3 years removed from being in the state title game. Like, these teams that Jackson's playing are good programs. They just might not be having amazing. Farmington's a little down from where they have been. Poplar Bluff's down from where they have been, but schedule's a schedule, man. And Jackson's beating good teams. I mean, they held Notre Dame to 19 points. They beat a Delta team that might be in the Final Four. They beat a Woodland team that might make a Final Four. They're beating teams, man. They're playing good basketball. It's fun to watch. Like, as a commentator, it's been a very fun season. And yeah, like I said, I went back, I looked. There's no season on Misha that I can find where they started this well. So I'm super high on Jackson. They have a big opportunity to win some more ball games, at Charleston against Lutheran St. Charles this week. They got Crothersville and New Madrid the week after, and then they finish the year on a tough 4-game stretch where they're at Seckman, who's a tough squad. They have one of the leading scorers in the St. Louis area. They host Sykeston, which will presumably be for the SEMO Conference regular season championship. They're at Webster Groves, who has the best player in the state of Missouri, reigning Class 5 state champs. And then they finish at Notre Dame, the rescheduled game from getting snowed out last week. So we gotta appreciate what Jackson's doing, man. 17-1 is unbelievable. And then Saturday, last game of the week for boys, Cape Central playing Meridian. I'm not going to pretend like I know what Meridian has. I know Meridian is usually a good team. Now, they are a really small school, so I don't know if they're usually just really good relative to their peers or if they're a good team. Look, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know kind of where Meridian is at as far as basketball talent. But Cape Central, you're going on the road to Charleston. This might be some Meridian right now, according to what I see, is 7-16. So not great. But they're undefeated in conference, is what I'm talking about. Are they a good team? Are they good relative to their peers? I don't know. So it's an opportunity for Cape Central to win, in my opinion. This is a game that I would pick Cape to get a victory in. Meridian, not a team that has a lot of size. Nobody really over 6'2". So this is an opportunity for, a Goliath Morris Young to really kind of go off around the rim, in my opinion. They do have several guys scoring in double figures. But, this is a game Cape needs to win. They might still end up below 500 on the season. It'll be tight. But all in all, the Tigers have a big opportunity to get a win against Meridian. I'll be rooting for them to do so. I would go check it out. The 6-man shootout is a really, really cool deal every year. A lot of good ball games going on down there. You get, Cape is going to be playing at 4. So go down there, go check out some good hoops. Should be a great time down in Charleston. And then we'll flip over to the girls, where we've got quite a bit of girls basketball going on, especially early in the week. So Monday, hopefully the day you're watching this, we got 3 good games. Saxony is on the road at Dexter. Definitely a game that Saxony should win. Dexter, it's another one. Like, what's happened to Dexter, man? Girls basketball. I was around in the days of them being Final Four contenders, them being maybe the best team in Southeast Missouri. You've got Hannah No, you've got Paige something or another, really, really tall girl. You've got all these girls that were college basketball players. Shaylee Mosby a few years later. They've had a lot of really, really good hoops down there at Dexter, and it's just not happening right now. They are struggling mightily. I think I saw a little bit ago. I think they have 2 wins on the season. So this is definitely a game. Yeah, 2-12. This is definitely a game I lean in the favor of the Crusaders. So shout out to them. Go pick up a win. Go on the road. Go get a SEMO Conference victory. Then we got a in-Cape rivalry game also. Notre Dame is at Cape. I don't know how to pick this game. I think it's going to be pretty evenly matched. Being at Cape obviously helps a little bit. Both teams, Notre Dame has struggled against good teams. Cape has kind of been up and down a little bit at times performance-wise, maybe even up and down within games that they've won. I think it's going to be pretty even. I might lean Cape. I don't know. I don't know how to pick this game whatsoever, but I think it should be a pretty competitive game. It should be a good game. An opportunity, I think, it's really 50-50. I think either team could win this. So best of luck to both teams. Big opportunity for Notre Dame to pick up a win to get some momentum down the stretch, and an opportunity for Cape to kind of keep padding the resume, get a better seed here in Class 5 District 1. And then finally, the big one. Jackson is taking on Doniphan girls basketball. It is going to be a big-time game. I'm hoping it's a big-time atmosphere. I hope this is out before the game, and I get to implore you to go check it out. Go watch this game, man. I said I'm planning on being in the building. It tips off at 6:30 also, so an early tip. So be there in time for this one. It's going to be good, man. Jackson's 15-0. I keep touching this microphone. I'm so sorry. Jackson's 15-0. Doniphan is 15-1. So a combined 30-1 are the two programs. It's going to be good, dude. Jackson is good, very talented, super athletic, good size inside. Doniphan, you can say the exact same thing. They bring back quite a bit from last year's team that won a state title in Class 4. Doniphan had beaten Jackson a couple years in a row, down there by 4, up here by 12. And then last season, Jackson went on the road to Doniphan, won by 4 over that state title game. One of only, I think, 2 losses Doniphan had, 2 or 3, all season long last year. So, it was a grind last season. It's going to be a grind again this year, dude. Carson Haygood is as good as anybody in the region, right? She has a legitimate case. You could probably say, as far as just numbers and accomplishments go, she's probably the best player down this way. Right? She won a state title. I think she was player of the year. Puts up huge numbers, but it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a really, really good battle. I obviously love the Indians. I think they can compete with pretty much anybody. So it's going to be a contest, but yeah, they're going to bring it. Ellie White, like I said, or Carson Haygood, stud. Ellie White, stud. And then the girl that's been really popping off, Bella Monaghan, freshman, big time freshman. Nice addition to the varsity this year for them. Good size around the basket. A girl who's put up double-doubles, who has been putting up great numbers all season. So Lauren Dory's going to have her hands full. But I like the way she's been playing, and we'll see how Doniphan does, because they're a team that can handle it. So, we'll see how effective Jackson's press is, see if they're forced to drop out of it, play more half court. We'll see. Should be a good chess match. Coach Epps, he's got a machine down there right now at Doniphan. So it's going to be exciting. And yeah, I'll be in the building, man. Look at the records, dude. Last year they won a state title. They went 29-2. They went 25-1, 26-3, 24-4. Doniphan is just on a generational run right now in girls basketball. So shout out to them. I'm really excited. This is going to be one of the best games here in Southeast Missouri all season. So definitely tap in if you are able. It's going to be a good one. And then middle of the week, no games Tuesday, Wednesday to my knowledge. Thursday, you've got Cape hosting New Madrid. New Madrid quite down, I would say. So this is a big game. I think Cape can probably should win by a considerable margin. Jackson is on the road at Poplar Bluff. Another game that's already happened earlier this year. Jackson beat Poplar Bluff by 62. Jackson beat them 75-13. Oh my gosh. So yeah, Jackson's going to win this game by about 50 on the road at Poplar Bluff. And then Friday, so we've got a doubleheader for basketball, right? We've got a girl-boy doubleheader of, I mentioned earlier, I forgot to mention this when I talked about the boys game. Notre Dame is at Saxony Friday. And so they're playing the varsity girls game at 6 and then the boys game at 7:30 or following the girls game. So go check that out. It should be a good one. Saxony and Notre Dame should be a competitive ball game, I would say. These two teams, I don't believe have faced off yet this season. Nope. Checking myself. Yep. Nope. They have not faced each other. Yeah, it's because Notre Dame's not in the Christmas tournament, and they didn't face each other in the conference tournament either. So should be a good game. Both teams capable of winning. An opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, for Notre Dame to try to pick up W's later in the season, but then also an opportunity where, Saxony is looking to get over 500 here this week if they go 2-0, or get back to 500 if they go 2-0 before they have a tough couple of games at Portageville, at Jackson, and home against Kennett, and home against North County. Crazy hard 2 weeks coming up, or 3 weeks, whatever, coming up for Saxony. Shout out to them. But this is a big opportunity for them to help themselves out, help the resume as they get closer to district time. So it should be a good one. Like I said, both games at Saxony. So get out, go see some good hoops on Friday out there in Fruitland. I live there. I should remember what it's called. Yeah, big week of hoops. I'm really excited. Boys and girls games should produce some pretty good basketball, I'm expecting. So definitely go check it out. Definitely go cheer on these local kids, man. I'm telling you, every time I bring it up, we're getting closer and closer to the end. So we are knocking down the door here at the end of the season. I'm going to look at some girls swimming. What does everybody have coming up this week? The 5th. What day of the week is that? Hold on. I wrote that down. I didn't write down days of the week. My brain doesn't comprehend that. Thursday. So Thursday, Jackson is supposedly at Farmington. So they'll be up there. We're a little over a week away from the SEMO Conference meet in girls swimming as well. That'll be the 10th. And the conference meet, just since we're here talking about it, maybe I don't know when I'll be I don't know when I'll be recording next week. Doesn't have a location on here at the time, so I'll look at these other schedules. Cape Central this week, Monday, potentially, if you're listening now, they have the Cape Quad, and then on Wednesday, they will be taking on Notre Dame. Looks like just a head-to-head matchup, them and Notre Dame, so that should be very, very fun. As a reminder, obviously, if you are a parent or whatever, you know this, but Notre Dame and Saxony combined teams in wrestling and in swimming, so... and that's the only thing on the slate as well for Notre Dame this week at Cape on Wednesday. And then turn the page over to wrestling. I mentioned also, though, swimming real quick. SEMO Conference meet the 10th, and then you're right in 2 Saturdays from now. You're right into district swim. So we are right here at the very, very end of the season for swimming. So go, tap in a little bit of time you have left. We are closing in on the very end of their season, but they're about to head to the postseason. So we've got some ladies with high potential to make some noise maybe in the postseason. Over on the wrestling side of things, Jackson boys Saturday will be at the Cody Green Memorial Varsity Tournament. That is up in Imperial, Missouri. So they have all week off until Saturday. They'll be up there at Imperial. And for the boys, that's their last scheduled meet until they go to the postseason. Girls, they are done until the postseason. So they have, pretty much 2 weeks off until the postseason starts, the 13th and 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day to all the parents out there. Going to be watching their kids wrestle on Valentine's Day. Very, very fun. Cape Central, on the boys' side, they're scheduled to face off against Kelly. That should be at Cape Central. That'll be next Monday, but also I might not have a show before then, so let you know then. Then it'll be at Dexter Quad on Tuesday. Those are their last 2 meets before they hit the postseason. Once again, boys Class 3, girls who are in Class 2, they will also be facing off against Kelly next Monday. So you got a little bit of time between now and then on the 9th. And then same thing, Dexter Quad. They'll be participating on the 10th over at Notre Dame. who same district as Cape Central, Class 2, District 1. They, on Saturday, will be up at Live for Life up in St. Louis, Live for Life tournament, before they come back down, a week from now. On the 10th, they have a quad meet with Dexter, Cape, and Kennett. So be on the lookout there. We're at the very end of the year, though, man, for all these sports. Outside of basketball, we've got 1, maybe 2 meets left before we are in the postseason. For swimming, you get conference meet, and then you get to the postseason, and then wrestling, you're right here. Got a meet or 2 left in the regular season. Then you're jumping straight into districts. Quickly, Jackson's district for girls will be Class 2, District 1. That is going to be at Northwest High School. So going up north kind of to the out in the boonies a little bit. The boys are in Class 4, District 1. That will be at Lafayette. So kind of West St. Louis. Also really, really tough wrestling up there. The girls for Cape Central, they're in Class 2, District 1. That will be at Northwest, as I mentioned, for Jackson. For the boys, they are in Class 3, District 1. Class 3, District 1 this year will be at DeSoto. So a little bit up north, not as far as Northwest, but equally in the woods. I drove there in the snow one time. Absolutely just treacherous terrain up there. So they'll be up at DeSoto wrestling there in Class 3. And then Notre Dame boys, Class 2, District 1, that will be going on at St. Genevieve. So everybody's going to be traveling up north in about an hour or so. So definitely go get ready for that. Get those road trips planned out, and best of luck. Best of luck to everybody as they hit the postseason. There's definitely some contenders. I know Jackson has a few guys, has a couple girls. Cape Central has a few boys, girls. Notre Dame has some kids that I'm expecting to make a run, / Saxony kids wrestling for Notre Dame. I'm expecting to make a run. And then same thing in swimming. I'm expecting to see several girls up in the state meet by the time it's all said and done. So should be good. We're right here at the very end of the year. And, like I said, I always say, I just tell everybody, hey, get out. A reason I just kind of read you the entire schedule is to give you a reminder. Hey, let's look at the schedule, see when, where, what's available. Go watch some of these kids, man. They've been putting in a lot of work, been putting in the time. The coach has been putting in the work, putting in the time. So go check them out. Go support. Obviously, if you're a parent, things like that, you'll be locked in, I know. But, appreciate it as always. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Feel free to subscribe, things like that. Always, you can leave a comment. Correct me if I'm wrong about anything, and I'll bring it up to next episode. Or if you have results for anything, stats you want to give me, basketball, swimming, wrestling, when we get to the spring, baseball, and track and field, whatever else is in the spring, hit me up. You can find, this account, Exit 99 Sports, on all social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've lied. I'm never going to use TikTok. I might use TikTok one day if I get the free time to make clips or stuff like that. One day. But otherwise, my name is Caleb DeLoach, so you can hit me up personally. I'm also on all social media. Ignore any of my sports takes you find on any other social media. But, thank you as always for the, anytime you guys hit me up in public, anything you ever say online, I'm super appreciative. I do this not for any praise for myself. I just do it so we get more eyes and ears on these kids and, to these coaches that are all putting in time. They're away from their family and the kids, right in here in the heart of school, splitting sports schedules with, tests and things like that. So best of luck to everybody as they keep competing here. We're winding down, getting into February, winding down winter sports. So thank you as always. I appreciate all y'all who listen, and we will see you in the next one. Take it easy.